Before we get into this one, I'm well aware of how late I am to the whole Spark party. So before you leave me a comment saying, oh, you're so behind, the Spark 2's out now, I know this. This video isn't just a demo or a review of the Spark. I'm also going to get into why it has taken me this long to get into this amp. So just bear with me for a second on this one. Hello and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about an amp I'm sure a lot of you are already well familiar with and will have seen reviews for, the Positive Grid Spark Practice Amp. Now I'm incredibly late to the trend on this one and I'm well aware of that fact, and that's what we're here to talk about today. So what's going to happen is I'm going to give you a brief rundown of how the amp works. I'm sure you're familiar and will have seen other reviews of this, and then we'll get into 3 reasons why it's taken me this long to get a hold of one myself. So, as I'm sure you're all aware, this is a 40 watt solid state digital modelling practice amp. It has all of the usual connectivity you'd expect, like Bluetooth and auxiliary in, so you can play along with tracks. And what sets the Spark apart from its competitors is its digital modelling capabilities. This amp has a ton of different effects and amp models built into it. Now I do have to say that me taking so long to get a hold of one of these things is by no means a reflection on how great this little amp is. It's a great fun little practice amp. Playing with all of the sounds and being able to download other people's sounds off the tone cloud is a really great little feature. I've had a lot of fun playing with it so far. And speaking of the tone cloud, that really brings us on to one of its main features, that being the Spark app. Now I'll throw a screen recording up over this side of the screen so you can see some of the features, but this amp comes with an app which has a ton of stuff in it and a bunch of extra features, which to me at least is both a blessing and a curse, which we'll get into in a little while. I don't really think I need to go into a whole lot more detail than that. I'm sure all of you are well familiar, and if you've spent any time on YouTube in the last couple of years, you will have seen at least one person reviewing this little amp. So that brings me on to, why am I talking about it now, and why has it taken me so long to get a hold of one? As I'm sure it's very obvious, the reason I'm talking about it now is because I've just got a hold of one. So this specific Spark that I have here, I picked up recently second hand. The real reason I've picked this one up is because a family friend was selling one and I thought it was a good deal, so I couldn't really refuse it. So why has it taken me so long to pick one of these great little amps up? Well, I think for me it comes down to 3 reasons really, and I'm sure these are reasons that might resonate with other people as well. The first of those reasons is this little guy. So this is a Yamaha THR-10 practice amp. This was really the original of the desktop practice amps, and I picked this one up not too long before the Spark was announced. So when I bought this, Spark didn't exist. Now I'm not going to talk about this little amp much more in this video, as I have plans to do a shootout between this and the Spark in a future video. If you're watching this video later down the line and that video is out, then I'll link it either up here or down in the description for you to check out. So, like I said, just before the Spark was announced, I'd bought the THR. And for me personally, I didn't feel that the Spark had enough extra features than compared to the THR to warrant the extra money for the upgrade. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are going to disagree on that one with me, and I can already hear my bandmate Ewan typing away. But although the Spark has all of its digital modelling features, and at face value it has loads and loads of different options, when you take it back to actually the functionality of what it does, producing or amplifying your guitar and giving you a range of effects and a couple of different voices on the amplifier, actually the Spark doesn't outdo the THR massively on that one. Now the second reason it's taken me this long to pick up the amp is what I think is less of a consideration for the majority of people and is more a me problem. And that is the fact that I'm just still not entirely sold on this whole digital modelling thing. Yes, these technologies are coming on amazingly, and things like the Kemper and the Helix are incredible, and I'm not opposed to them. However, at the more budget end, things like this I am cautious of, and especially for me that has been compounded by having played things like the Line 6 Catalyst, which for me at least just didn't work. I really didn't like that amp. So I've had bad experiences with more budget digital products, and that's put me off slightly, but I'm aware that the whole, I want to stick to analog thing is me being a bit snobby and is entirely a me problem. So that's not probably something that would resonate with you. Now, the third reason it's taken me this long, and really what I'd say is my major concern, not just with the Spark, but with a lot of the way that these products are going, these digital products that require an app, and that is the longevity of the product. Now, don't get me wrong, love this little amp, it is fantastically good, but a lot of its functionality is locked behind the app. Unlike things that are just entirely controllable with the controls on the amp, you don't have access to all of the different effects options and things like that without using the app. That's perfectly fine for now while it's all working. I'm just concerned of the day that that app support ends and the app stops working, and when phones and operating systems, whatever, move on. If these things aren't supported, there will come a day where whatever presets and stuff you have locked into your amp, that's what you're left with. And for me, especially when you've paid, what were they, £230, and I think now the Spark 2 that's just come out is £270, that risk feels a bit rough to me. So for me, getting this cheaper on the second-hand market, it feels like I'm taking less of a risk with putting my money into this amp. That feeling that I haven't spent as much on this amp for it to potentially one day become a lot less functional is better for me. I'd just like to clarify though and sum that up by saying that this is by no means a Spark specific thing. This is my opinion for a lot of these devices. If I give you an example, a few months ago I was in the market for a new reverb pedal. In the end I ended up going for the Walrus Audio Fundamental Ambient, but for a little while I was seriously considering going for the UA Delverb. Now, I saw reviews and it's a great sounding pedal, but ultimately the thing that really put me off it was the fact that a lot of the functionality that has, again, is locked behind an app, and the thought that I'd spend £200 on a pedal for then the functionality of that pedal to be really reined in just put me off. So those really are the three main reasons why it's taken me this long to pick up a Spark. That being said, I'm loving playing this little amp. It's an amp that I have actually recommended to several beginner guitarists. When you don't really have any pedals or any amps or really even know what specific sort of gear you're into, I think it's a great way to introduce you into a wide range of stuff, to learn kind of what you like, what you don't like. But I will always caveat by raising the points that I have in this video. Like with most products, there's pros and cons to everything, so it's just about finding what's right for you, I think, really. But I do think, especially now that with the second generation coming out and the early first gens starting to become a lot more affordable on the used market, now is a great time to pick one up if you are in the market for a small little practice amp. Like I said earlier, I will be doing a shootout between that and the Yamaha THRs, so make sure you stay tuned and subscribe for that one. If you like the tone that you've heard in the intro of this video and you do have a Spark, I've created a tone cloud preset that vaguely resembles the foundations of my solo project recording rig, so I'll link that down in the description so you can download that and have a play. But that's it for today's video, so as always, thank you for watching and I'll see you next time.